Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip podcast with me, Logan Lee Miller. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the Golden Hour Drip podcast. I'm your host, Logan Lee Miller. Happy Monday. Oh, I'm feeling fresh. I'm feeling great. Not only is it a Monday, but it's the 1st of July. I'm so excited for July. It is the mark of the 6 months of 2024. So we've already done 6 beautiful months of the year, and we're in the later half. If you did not know this or realize this, I'm so sorry to give you a little bit of Sunday scaries, but like end of the year scaries, if you will. I'm so grateful for each season that we have of, the seasons, the years, the months, the days, all the things. And this year, I feel like I have felt more centered, more calm, more, I don't know, just like more of myself. For a moment there, I was a little worried about the trajectory of my life, what was happening. And I am just really grateful for the last 6 months. And I know the next 6 months will be just as good, just as amazing. And I'm really looking forward to it. Now, not only that, I also got to switch out my contacts each month. I guess I have monthly contacts, so I have to wait until each month to swap them out. And I don't know why, but it felt like June was so long. My contacts were feeling crusty dusty, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but we went on our family float trip this past weekend. And I haven't had contacts for very long, probably the last 3 years I've had contacts. And I kind of forget that they're in my eyeballs. And so when I would jump in the water, I got water behind my contacts. It was a crazy experience. Did not like that one bit. But with the first of the month, I get to switch out my contacts. So I'm feeling fresh. I'm feeling so crystal clear. And honestly, just really loving it. Not only is July 1st today, but it's also a Monday, and it's for the next 6 months. So it's like one thing after another. It's amazing. It's gorgeous. Near the end of this episode, we will talk about my 6th month moving forward goals. I'm so excited. And just my planning process in regards to that. So it's a beautiful, beautiful day in July. Some people might think it's a little hot, but honestly, I love the heat, and my zinnias are blooming. I feel like they're a hot weather plant, so they've been loving the hose water I've been giving them. I was going to say rain. We did get some rain, but really not that much. And the zinnias, they're just starting to pop off. I created my first bouquet of the zinnias. So it's humid, it's hot, it's all the things. And let's get into my peak and my pit of the week. So peak of the week, contact change, right? We had our family float trip. I look forward to this every single year. And this year it was even more special because my niece and my nephew, Malcolm and Marcella, got to come on the float trip, and my sister and brother-in-law. Caitlin and I have not been on a family float trip together for probably, I want to say 6 years maybe. So it's really fun to have her again. And then also to have Marcella and Malcolm to experience a float trip through their eyes is honestly so much fun. So every single year we go to the Naingua, which is a little lake on the outskirts of Lake of the Ozarks. It is in the town of Lebanon, and it's right off the Bennett State Park, or what? Oh my gosh, no, I'm not. I believe it's Bennett, but it could be anything, honestly. And that's where my great aunt and uncle live. And so we visit them every single year. My mom has floated this river for the last 30 years, which is insane, crazy to have that much history. And my entire childhood, we every single summer did this. So it's very nostalgic for me, and having my Marcella and Malcolm, I tried to say Michael, which is their dad's name, But to have them there as well was just like really, really fun. And you get to do things that might seem childish with children, right? It's re-experiencing your childhood through their eyes, which I love. So we went on the float. So we always rent big, huge rafts. This year we got a 8 man, a 10 man, a 6 man, and then my brother David was in a kayak. So we start off in the morning at 10 o'clock. The bus comes and picks us up and will drive us to the riverfront. And that's the company that we usually book through, Riverfront. But essentially like the riverfront. All sorts of, canoe and float rental companies all like put in different spots. And it's essentially at the start of the river. So the bus picked us all up. I want to say we had like 25 people of our family staying in a lodge, and some of them tent camped, some of them were inside, and then of course like my great aunt and uncle, they live in their house, although they did not float. So it's like it's a huge family reunion, and we get together, and Friday, usually everyone starts coming down, and there's it's like dog park or something. It's a strip near the Ozarks. It's about 45 to an hour away from where like we actually float, but it's always a good time. So Friday we had like played arcade games and everything, and the next morning always like we're getting on the river at like 9:30 every single year. And some people went a little hard the night before after the arcade games and the little shops, and then of course my husband and stepdad went down to the different bars on the strip, and overall it was like an amazing, so much fun time. But people stayed up super late, and people also drank a little too much, so it's always fun like getting everybody rounded up before the float. And of course I care of the dog. They are starting early. Now this is the only time that I will allow Garrett to drink that early. Right, like it's 9 a.m. they are ripping shots. It's all the things. It's all in family fun, and of course always drink responsibly. We're not driving anywhere ever because the bus picks us up. And Garrett and my brother-in-law Michael, they made us breakfast. We had biscuits and gravy, and eggs. That meal is like a staple when you're camping and things, but oh my gosh, it makes me feel like I'm gonna sink to the bottom of this river. So we're all full. We have our bathing suits on. We have our sunscreen slathered on, and we hop on this bus and we're like, okay, we're ready to go. Everyone has like the people in their party counted. If they slept in, if they were a little tired from the night before, like they're running ready to go. And we get on the bus. And the driver goes, "Oh, do you guys have your scan tickets?" Not that we each individually had to have a ticket, like the float ticket. So the ticket that shows like, hey, we bought this raft that we're renting or whatever. And my mom goes, "Oh, no." And the night before we all got like wristbands if we wanted to go to the hot tub or the swimming pool that is located at like the campsite. We stayed at a lodge that was like very close by. Like not even a mile. It was literally just a hop and a jump away. And she was like, "Oh gosh, like we're looking for this ticket, looking all over." And we finally found the ticket. Luckily, that driver had reminded us that we needed the little Scantrons before we, were driven to the drop-off location. But we had our tickets, we're ready to go. And did I also mention it's raining? So it's drizzling, and this is not uncommon for Lebanon, Missouri. It is usually a little drizzly, a little wet at all times, and at least the air outside was like pretty warm. There's been some trips where it is freezing. One time, it was like a colder June. We didn't go the last weekend in June, but we went like the second weekend in June or the third. And it was unreasonably cold. It's fed by like a spring. So there are some points where it is immensely cold. And you want it to be fairly hot out so that you can jump in the water and it's not like freezing cold. So it's drizzling a little bit, and I am just praying that it lightens up and the kids have a good time and a really good experience, because this is Malcolm and Marcella's very first time. This is make or break. And if we, rewind when me and my sister Caitlin were 6 years old, or 5. No, we were 5 the first time Caitlin came on the river with us. So it was Caitlin, Ashley, and David, my siblings. And I had gone on a float trip before, but this was the first time with like my siblings. And Caitlin did not want to get in the water when we were 5. She wanted to stay on the cooler. She was petrified, and she just didn't, like, she had a fear of the water, right? Like, so I did not want that to be, her children's experience ever. Like, I want them to love the water. I want them to love the float trip. And although Caitlin like did get over it and we can laugh about that memory, she was obviously like petrified at that age. So Marcella is 6, Malcolm is 3. They're around the age that we were. And it was really, it went perfect. So when we get on the water, it's raining on us still. It's a little cold. Like, as I stepped into the water to like walk the raft into the river, they have like guys help us a little bit. But honestly, like, you still have to like push it in the entry because so many people are getting in the water, and you have to like get a little bit out of the way or you're going to be congested. You're going to run into people, which is fine. Like, on the river, like, it's very common for people to talk and chat and like toss jello shots or regular shooters at one another, and people have water guns, and it's a really, really fun experience. However, like, it can be a little rambunctious. And so we get on the raft, and on our raft we had the 8-man one. So we had Garrett and my aunt and uncle, and who else was on the raft? No, it's just and my Nana Joe, my grandma. So we had what's called like an 8-man, but we only had 6 people on it. They just air it up a little bit more, so you're able to have your coolers on it and all of your goodies and snacks. So we had 5 in our boat: my aunt and my uncle and me and Garrett and my grandma. So that's how we started. And then halfway through, I think 1 mile down the river, Marcella decided to jump boats, and she came and hung out with us. But they enjoyed the water and they got in. I think what is really good is my mom and dad have a pond. And so very regularly, like, the grandkids like go and swim in their pond. So they're used to water, not being able to see the bottom. I think that can be really scary as a kid to not be able to see the bottom, but they were super brave and swam, and it's so much fun. So we're on the float and we're going, we have our snacks. I was a little afraid that we weren't going to have as much room because we only had essentially 3 rafts this year. In years past, we've had like 4 or 5. And David was on his kayak. So I like downsized my stuff. And Garrett ended up running out of beer, which is horrible when you're on the river. He was fine, honestly. But we had snacks and we had all the goodies. So we wanted to get out of the way before everyone stopped and swam. Plus, you need your body to heat up. And after like the first 10, 15 minutes floating, the sun started to come out. The rain stopped. Immaculate conditions. Not only that, but we got enough water that the raft did not like get caught up on the rocks. So naturally, in a river, there's high spots, there's low spots. And when you're in a raft and you have it loaded down with heavy coolers filled with ice, and then you have like your dry bags and your phones and all of that things, it can be a little hard to float over those rocks, right? And so this year, I think we only had to get out of the boat twice, honestly, like twice to walk it. It's kind of like when you're on a bike and you get to a hill and you can't like get up the hill anymore. You have to get out, push your bike up the hill, and then you can ride it down. very similar to floating. You can be in the raft, and then as soon as you get to a low spot, you have to hop out your raft and walk the raft through the rocks, and then like hop back on it and float down the river. But we only had to get out like twice, so it was like perfect conditions. It was warm, the rain had stopped, and the children were having a blast. And I just know that this was a core memory made, and a core memory for me too, like experiencing it with them and experiencing it with my family. And it was just one of the most perfect float trips I've ever been on. And I feel like each year it does get a little bit better and a little bit better with like practice and like everyone knowing what they need to do and what to bring and all the things. Now we did have one mishap this year. So at our first stop, because we had to get down the river just a little bit before like docking and being able to get out and swim. Very common on the river. You find a low spot or find a little bank ashore. You ram your raft up on it, you hop out, you swim, you cool off, you drink, you conversate, all the things. So we have multiple rafts. We're going, Garrett and I, our raft is up front. Then we have like my mom and my nibblings, and then we have like extended family on a different raft. And as we're going, David kinda was like near us at all times, my brother. And he was like on his kayak by himself. He had his cooler, he had his sunscreen, he had everything. And he was self-sufficient in that way. But there was at one point where I'm not sure if he got confused on what family he was with, because everyone on the float trip, like, or on the river kind of looks the same, right? Like, oh, it's a big raft, it's a lot of people, it's all of these things. And we had gotten through one of the more difficult passes. It's not like super rapidy, but it was a spot where there was like a low spot and you need to like veer off to the right or the left to miss it. And I'm not sure if he just like was paddling very fast, not like very fast, but like paddling to get through the difficult congested area. And he was like pretty far ahead, like I want to say like 200 yards. And we were needing to dock up because it was time to get out. It was time to get snacks. And I thought from the distance that he was with another party because we had kind of got broken up. And I was like, oh, he's with like our extended family. He's with Vance. Like, it's fine. And Garrett and I docked, and then my mom docked. And then about 6 minutes later, Vance rolls up in his float. And I'm like, oh, David is by himself. David was not with our party, and now David is by himself. And that is so petrifying. I was so nervous for my brother. One, like to be on a river by yourself, like not know where your family is, nerve-wracking. Also, you never know, like, oh, are they in front of me? Are they behind me? Like, should I stop and dock? But then what if they're like way ahead of me and I'm not being able to reach them? So it was like a conundrum. I was a little bit nervous the entire time. Like, oh, where is David? Is David going to know where the drop off location is? Is he going to be able to like be like, oh yeah, that's our stop. That's the Inararo. That's where we're supposed to like drop off our canoe. Is he going to continue down the river? Is he going to get lost? Like, I was seriously so scared for my brother. And at the end, luckily, thank God, because I was just like praying. I was like, please let him not capsize. Let him not get lost. Let him not, go past the pickup point. And there he was sitting on the grass with his cooler and his towel. He was chilling. He was drinking his beer, and he was just hanging out when, we saw him literally 4 hours later on the bank. It's a little nerve-wracking. It's a little nervy. But that was like the only thing that went a little awry. The best part of the entire float trip, on one of the times where we get out and we're like perusing around, seeing all the things, Marcella was looking for shells and Malcolm was throwing rocks, and we're all hanging out, we're all eating. And Marcella and I are looking together, and we see a little fish, probably, I don't know, the size of half a hot dog. That's about the size. And Marcella like touched it. She's like, "Oh, that's a fish. It wasn't a rock." And I was able to scoop it up in my hands, and it was a little like sucker fish, and it was so pretty. But they were able to look at it and see it in my hands, and of course, like we released it, it was fine. But I caught a fish with my bare hands. Thank you very much, and that was really really neat. It's always fun when you're able to like show a child a wild animal, right? Like, or a fish, and I caught it with my hands, so it was pretty cool. And then of course, Lily and I love jumping off cliffs. Okay, it is one of our favorite things. We always do it together. And this cliff it was pretty muddy, but it had like these very, very muddy feet steps. So with a little bit of skill, you're able to like climb up the cliff and then you can jump off. And Michael ended up going with us as well. Lily and I are avid river rats essentially. So I had chacos on, she had her chacos on. We have like quality swimsuits. You know, a lot of girls wear string bikinis on a float trip. Love that for you. Of course I've done that before, but the thing is, when you wear a string bikini on the river, you cannot jump off of things without being concerned that your top's going to fly off, right? So I have my nice hot pink one piece. I'm climbing up. I'm ready for it. And we lucked out. So we see it and we like did it. We jumped off the cliff 3 times before a whole group of like 25 were like getting in line to jump off. It's always fun when you're able to do it, whether there's no line, you can like do it as fast as you can. And then by our 3rd time, a whole crew of people came and I was like, I'm not going to wait in line. So we quickly exited. I had like this hot pink hat. I love it so much. It's it's a juice hat or whatever. I think I've worn it on the podcast actually before, but the first time I jumped off, I didn't hold on to it. And so it like floated, and Lily and I usually jump off together. But at this point in time, she had like almost slipped because it is muddier than crap up there. Okay. And it just rained. So it's like messy. And I jump off and I was like, "Where's my hat? Do you see it?" Because I knew it was hot pink and she would be able to see it. And it did float up. I did get my hat, although like I thought I was going to lose it. And that's on wearing hot pink and bright colors. I'm always so nervous when it comes to like lake and water time. When Garrett and I are picking out our swimsuits, I'm like, if you hit your head for any reason, I want to be able to find you. No blue, no purple. Like I want neon colors. I want to be able to find you in the river, find you in the bottom of a pond if you happen to slip, fall, crack your head. Okay. That's my number 1 rule. But we jumped off a couple times, and I had known. So one of my very, very good friends, Adriana, I met with her this past week for lunch because she is moving to Spain tomorrow. So Tuesday. Oh, July 2nd. I'm so sad. She's moving to Spain, and the next time I will see her, I don't know, like it could be years from now. And so I was like, I want to see her. I want to make sure that I see her. So I went to lunch with her on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. So I got to see her, and we were talking about when we were trying to make plans. I was like, I can come Tuesday. Well, whatever. We tried to make plans the week before. It didn't happen. She wanted to do something Monday. I could not do anything Monday. I was so busy. We planned for Tuesday. And she was like, "I'm busy this weekend." I was like, "Me too." And she's like, "Okay, let's try for Tuesday." You know how it is with your friends. You're always trying to get your calendar together. When are you free? When do you work? Like, when are all the things? And she's like, "I am going to the river for a float trip this weekend." I was like, "That's crazy. Me too." And she's like, "Oh, really? Which river?" I was like, "We always float the Naingua." And she's like, "That's where I'm going too." I was like, "Oh, how cool. Which company are you with?" There's Big Bend. There is the NRO. There's Riverfront. She's like, "Riverfront." I was like, "Me too, dog." Like, we are going on the same float essentially. And after Lily and I jumped off the cliff, I like went back to our group. I grabbed myself a beer. I was hanging out, and I see her on the like bank, and I was like, what are the odds? What are the odds that I actually see her? She was just standing. We were docked up, like essentially right next to each other. I got out. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And we talked for a little bit, and that was just like a little sprinkle on our visit with each other, because I can't go to her happy hour the day that, or she's having a happy hour maybe the day before she leaves. I can't go to it. I have a board meeting. I'm so sad. But I was like, this was perfect. I had to see you just one more time before you go to Spain for the longest. And it was just like a little happy situational. I didn't want to say like happy accident, because like it wasn't an accident, but it was like a happy little moment where I was able to see my friend. And my biggest concern on the river was we did not see David the entire time. And how can I not find my brother, but found my friend who, there's hundreds of people who are on this float trip, literally so many people. And I ended up meeting her. So excited. After the river though, because you float for hours and you're paddling, once we got home, oh my gosh, Malcolm, he decided he wanted to sit with me on the bus. And as I was holding him on the way back to our lodge, he was slumped. He fell asleep right on my arms. I love it when children fall asleep on you. It just makes you feel like so special. Like, they picked me. They wanted to cuddle with me. And I just thought that was such a sweet moment. But because he was on the river playing in the rocks, right? Like, I'm sure there's some lake debris. So I helped Caitlin like get him in the shower half asleep. And I swear he slept for 7 minutes on the bus. And we like got him in the shower. That shower must have revived him, because as I was waiting for, my sister and Marcella to shower, Malcolm was clean and he was running the heck all over. He was like sprinting in the room. And I looked at his dad and I was like, oh my gosh, a 7-minute nap. And this kid is on fire. I couldn't believe it. But I was exhausted. I was so tired. It just feels so good when you shower after being on the river, being in the sun. And I will say, I did not get that sunburnt at all. I think maybe the tippy top of my shoulders got like a little singed. Lily was trying to even out her tan lines. She got a little burnt. Let's see. But overall, like, it was a pretty safe, happy trip. And I was happy with it. I was so happy with it. I had a blast. We get home. Everyone is absolutely exhausted. We all shower. We're getting to smell good. And then we play games. And we always tie-dye shirts every single year. And when we, I don't know, finally get around to tie-dyeing, it's around like 6 o'clock. The sky is dark. Oh my gosh, the sky is dark. It begins to thunder and lightning, and storm and all sorts of things. So we're on the front porch and we're trying to tie-dye the shirts and trying to get them done. And they obviously like have to set overnight. So we're tie-dyeing. I tie-dyed mine and Garrett's, and then like my Nana Joe's, and Marcella and Malcolm got to tie-dye their shirts. Marcella tie-dyed Garrett's extra shirt and her Papa shirt, my dad's shirt. And her, like, there was a couple extra shirts that could be dyed. And it was so fun, like, being able to do a craft with her. My aunts and uncles were always so good with me. They always spent time with me. They always wanted to pour into me in that aspect. And that one-on-one time is so important. And I remember like doing crafts at Christmas with my aunts and uncles from what they like gifted me as my present, and just being able to like sit with them and dye their shirts. It was so special to me. And then the next morning we rinsed them out, and it's always fun to see what the designs turn out to be the next day. And sometimes you have it in your head that it's going to look really cool, and then it turns out like really crappy. Every single year, I always am drawn to the purples and blues because they're like deep colors and beautiful and stunning. This year, I was like, I am not doing a purple and blue shirt, no matter how pretty they look. I have had the last 4 years with this color. I did red and yellow and orange, and it was so sunset perfect and beautiful. And Garrett and I, his was a different like technique of tie, but they were the same aesthetic colors. Stunning, beautiful. Hey, I hope that you're enjoying today's podcast episode. Just a quick interruption to let you know that the Golden Hour Drip podcast has a monthly newsletter. You'll find podcast updates, upcoming events and information, and bonus content. If you haven't already, click the link in the show notes and join today. Now, back to the show. But the float trip is just always one of my top summer like memories or to-dos or any of the things. I always look forward to it every single year, and it gets better and better, honestly, especially when we add members to our family and our family just like grows and expands and all the things. Lily's boyfriend wasn't able to make it this year, but like hopefully he'll come next year, and hopefully, like maybe my sister Ashley can come next year. It's just like, it's all the things. It makes me so happy. It makes me feel so good. And I love it when we can all get together as a family and experience like the nature, the amazing things of that Missouri has to offer, because honestly, like, we do not have that much to offer, and so it's always nice when we can offer something. But yeah, the float trip, a win. 10 out of 10, love so much, and can't wait until next year. So my pit of the week. I am a notebook girly, okay? I write my notes on my notepad in front of me, and I have notes scattered across everywhere. I do not know why, but my very favorite pen is a Sharpie pen, and it has to be a 1.0, not a 0.7 millimeter or whatever diameter of the pen. This, I don't know what is happening. Every single one of them are dying, okay? I open them up, plenty of ink in them, but they won't write. I don't know if it's because I dropped them and it creates like a crack in the ink. Whatever it is, I do not have any pens, and at the start of this year I had 25. Not a single one of those things work. It is making me so mad. I don't know what is wrong with these pens. I don't know if this is like a marketing tactic where it's like a fake pen ink, and it's actually just like the perfume bottles or the cosmetics where it's like this big jar and you think you have so much, but really it has like a false bottom, or it seems smaller on the inside and there's actually not that much product. That is like these pens, and it is making me cry because I love the sharpness of a pen. Today I literally had to write my podcast notes with a pencil, which, don't get me wrong, I do love a pencil, but I just worry that like pencils aren't permanent and they can be erased. And I know that a pen, I will be able to like look back on these notes and think, you know what? It's still there. It did not fade. It did not erase. And it just makes me so mad. So that's my number one pet of the week. I'm going to have to buy new pens. So sad. Now, this past week, I had a blast cleaning and prepping for our like little weekend trip. And to make this week even more crazy and stressful, not that it was stressful, I just feel like preparing before a vacation takes a lot of effort, and then you're on the vacation and that takes a lot of effort, and then you come home and you're like, I am wiped out. I want to fall asleep. I want to not do anything at all. And I want to set my future self up for as much success and happiness and as possible. So I'm cleaning the house, and then Adriana and I were trying to get together before she left, and then I teach yoga on Mondays, and then I don't know, it just so many crazy things. On top of that, Garrett had to fly. Garrett had to fly to Atlanta for part of his work. I don't know, part of his company project that he's working on. So he left Tuesday at like 10 o'clock a.m. His flight was delayed like 5 times, and he didn't end up making it to his destination until 10. Then he was literally gonna stay there that afternoon, go to work that morning, and his flight left like the next day on Wednesday. So he spent less than 24 hours in Atlanta, but he had to like come back. And so that was also stressful because he was going to be gone, and the flight delays, and then him coming back, and then we're going to pack up and go on a trip. And I don't necessarily love to be at home by myself. I have Rooster and Rowdy, of course. They're such great company. And I am getting better at it. Like, I am feeling more comfortable being alone. I'm getting more comfortable, going to bed by myself, and it's been a work in progress. I definitely have to like calm my anxiety down. And back to the Inside Out movie, I know that we've done a whole episode on this essentially, but the Inside Out scene, spoiler alert, where anxiety is at the control panel and Joy comes over and is trying to get anxiety to let Riley go. It's like in the midst of a panic attack essentially, and Joy, Amy Poehler's voice, like I hear her in my head, was like, anxiety, you need to let her go. And I literally envisioned that scene of me like being at the control panel and anxiety like releasing control of me. So good. I love it. I'm getting chills right now. But like I try to do that in my head. So like I am getting better at it. I'm getting better at being home alone. But you know what made this trip even better? Yes, the coping mechanism of the joy and anxiety Inside Out scene. But Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders had their most recent series on Netflix. And maybe you don't know, I love Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. I remember like watching them growing up. I just think that they are so beautiful and perfect at their craft. Any young girl would look at them and want to be beautiful, right? And my stepdad is a huge Packers fan, and my mom is like a huge Chiefs fan. So whenever we were like at home, it would be like cheering against each other, especially like if the Chiefs and Packers played each other, because my stepdad is from Michigan and my mom is from Missouri. So it's like this rivalry in our household. And my mom would always cheer for the Chiefs and my dad the Packers. And I remember seeing the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I don't know if it was like a the series when it was on TV or if there was a little part of it or whatever, but I want to say it was the old show. I remember watching it and being like, I'm going to be a Dallas Cowboys fan and wanting to be like an America's sweetheart. But now definitely like a Chiefs girl through and through. But that does not mean that I don't enjoy watching the docuseries. And I fell in love with so many of the girls. And it was just so fun to watch them and watch their journey. What I loved is it wasn't just like making the team. It was also like events after it, and like Dolly Parton playing at their like Christmas show or whatever it was. Amazing. I remember when it happened on social media, like Dolly Parton's outfit, and seeing on like TikTok about her like wearing a crop top and being, I don't know how old she is, like 70s maybe, I don't know, maybe older, and her wearing like essentially a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader outfit, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was like real life. And so it was so fun to see like the docu-series about it, and I would love to know, who's your favorite? Comment down below, because I honestly, like, there were so many favorites, and just I love their personalities. And after watching it, I had to go back and watch like the season 1, episode 1. Like I went back, and it's crazy how much time has passed. I think I want to say it was like 2006 was the very first season. And watching that back and seeing like their hairstyles and what they wore and what was like very popular and very in, like the straight hair that was like dyed and then it was like textured at the bottom, so it was like a little bit pointy. And like watching my childhood essentially, it was like, oh my gosh, that and America's Next Top Model were just like so iconic. And I watched that, I binged the whole series. The less than whatever time Garrett was in Atlanta, I was watching the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and finished the series. Loved it so much. And this past float trip, my cousin Brooklyn did competitive cheer growing up. She did tumbling and she mentioned it and I was like, "Oh, you watched that? I watched that too." And we were able to like talk and chat about it. And that, sometimes when you're like on Netflix and it says top 10 shows in the US, okay, I love that. I love to see what everybody else is watching. I feel like it just bonds communities together. Okay, like, oh, you watched that docu-series, I also watched that docu-series. Or did you watch that new show? I saw that new show came out too and I watched it. Or a movie or whatever. Like, it's so fun to be able to connect on something, conversation starter. So I don't mind to do what's trending because I think it's a great way to connect with other people. You know that they also watched it, or like the likelihood that they watched it as well is very high. And it's just like a great bonding aspect. Same with like Love Island or Bachelor, or even The Perfect Match. Like, I just watched that. So there's like so many like shows that you're able to like talk and connect about. And I know that it's like not just movies, that you can also connect on other things as well, like books. Okay, my book club for the Golden Gal Network, we just read Pineapple Street, by Jenny Jackson, I believe is the author's name. But to be able to like talk about a book, like that is something that we can all chat about, we can all come together. And just having that common ground to connect with another person is so very nice. So Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders for the win. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but when you watch when you watch the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, or any sort of aspirational figure, these girls are so passionate and they work so hard at their craft, right? Like, they are working full-time jobs and then they're also like going to practice. And there was one clip of the cheerleader, she's like, "Yep, I'm a nurse, so I have practice immediately after my shift, and then I come home, it could be like 11 o'clock or midnight, to eat. Like, I need my meals completely prepared or I'm not gonna like get it done. I'm not gonna be able to fuel myself." I was like, man, like, these, and they also don't get paid that much. Like, literally they do not get paid that much. So they're doing it because they love it. It's grueling work. It's practice over practice. It's sacrificing their body, sacrificing their time spent with family. I mean, they had a Thanksgiving game day and Christmas specials and like all of these things, and it is such dedication. You can't help but look at it and be like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to get on my goals. I've got to focus and get my life right." And I always love to do a check-in at the halfway mark. Actually, yes, like a halfway mark is important, but I also like check in every single month. Like, at the end of the month, I think, okay, like, where am I at my goals? Am I doing well? Is there like areas that I need to like work on? And July 1st is a great starting point. So if you set goals January 1 and you haven't checked back in on them, like, this is the perfect time to reevaluate those goals or aspirations, or even like to have a bucket list for 2024. Because I think sometimes we overcomplicate things. We think, oh gosh, like, if it's not perfect, if I haven't been doing what I need to be doing, the year is lost, I'll need to start back next year. I know a lot of people have in their mind about like a bikini body or a beach body, and like, if they didn't achieve what they thought with unrealistic expectations and not being able to like have those goals set into place, they can get down on themselves. They can like throw in the towel and think, "Oh, you know what, like, next year I'll be better." Or if it's like financial goals, I know like we can all have our financial goals of what we want to do and like what effort we're putting in. And then it might be paying off credit card debt. And then you think, oh gosh, like I'm going to book this vacation and that vacation. And now like it's halfway through the year. I haven't paid off my credit card debt. Everyone wants to go hang out. I know a lot of students also like want to work during the summer to pay for like school in the fall, because a lot of students, they rely on financial aid, or they take out like student loans. They try to work during the school year, or like they try to work less and be able to just like rely on the money that they made during summertime. So it can be a hectic time. And if you have those goals and aspirations for yourself and then they don't exactly pan out and you're like, oh crap, like I thought I'd be farther by now, or I had this goal and something else popped up, or I wasn't able to keep the discipline, like this is the perfect time to check back in with yourself and think, oh, like how did we do? Like, where are we at? There is so much more time still in this year. And so there's no need to get upset or to get down on yourself. I think that if you're able to check in and you're not where you're wanting to be, perfect. Okay. Like you are able to pivot, you're able to change, and you're not able to move forward if you don't know where you're at, right? I think any sort of data is going to help you in the future. So if you're able to pull your financial statements, see where you've been spending, then you can course correct and think, oh, like I'm going to have a better plan for the second half of the year. People do quarters as well, especially if you are in sales. It's always like first, second, third, fourth quarter. So July is the 7th month. Essentially, we are in the second quarter. No, we're in the third. Are we in the second? Oh my gosh, hold on. So January, February, March, that's 4 quarters. So sorry. January, February, March, and April, first quarter, 4 months. Second quarter is, oh my gosh, I already forgot. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So we are in the second quarter of the year. So maybe that won't stress you out as much as like the second half of the year. So we're in the second quarter. We're in the third month of the second quarter. And then we have the third quarter, the fourth quarter, all of the things, right? We still have so much time. No need to get worked up. No need to fret. No need to like get scared. The best thing to do is to go out and get a notebook, or find a notebook you already have. I talked myself out of a planner. This is great. Okay, so I love a new clean notebook. I love having new things. I love having new pens. Hence why like all my pens died and I'm literally pissed off. But I love having clean paper. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like it's a new start, a new fresh, a new beginning. And I was like, okay, like the first of the year is coming. I want a new planner. I want to have like my schedule. And I talked myself out of it. I don't like to have like a bunch of unused things in my house. I want to make sure that everything, I'm not storing it for like museum purposes. I need to get rid of it. I need to only focus on the things that like I actually need. So I thought to myself, you know what? You use Google Calendar too much to have like a physical planner. And what I really needed is a day planner. But the day planners that they have, oh, this makes me so mad. The day planners are where it's like horizontal. So you only have like 1.5 inches tall, and then it's like 6 to 7 inches long. Well, I'm not going to write 2 lines of stuff. Like that's not how I do a checklist. A checklist to me, like I need it more long than wide. I need it more wide. I need it more tall than long. That makes more sense. I need it more tall so I can like write out things to check off. I also love a 4 quadrant. So I'm doing like, okay, the first half of my day, second half, third half, fourth half. 4s are very important to me. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, if we do go out to find a journal or a planner, it has to be tall. So I like opened all of them. I couldn't find a single one that was going to fit the needs that I had. So I was like, I I know in the past I've tried to do this and it hasn't worked out, and I wasted $20 on a planner, and it's not what I need, and I get really mad. And then it sits on my shelf until I throw it away. I instead wanted to do a day planner that was going to work for me. So I went and I found a sketchbook. I got a ruler, and that's where my pencils came in. The sketchbook was like half the price. It was only even less. It was like $10. In comparison to like some planners can get pretty expensive, and there was no day planners that even looked good. So I bought the sketch pad, and I have my ruler, and with my pencil, I created like the grid lines I would need for a perfect day planner, something that would also incorporate my goals. So I could have like every Sunday, I'm sorry, not Sunday, every Monday. Okay, this is not making sense. I'm so sorry. So for my Mondays, beginning of the week, like I want to plan out what I'm doing instead of daily. Like in the morning, usually I grab my cup of coffee and I think, okay, like what do I need to get done today? I want to take it a step further, and I want to plan the week before. So to me, the end of the week is a Sunday. So on Sunday night, I'm planning for my Monday. And where I drew my Monday, I have like a space for like notes, deliverables, goals that I want to focus on, or categories of the goals that I want to focus on. So in that part, I would write down, okay, the goal I'm focusing on this week is to make my meals at home. We're not ordering takeout at all. So I'll write, okay, meals at home. And then I'll put, need to meet up with this friend. Maybe I have some podcast stuff that I want to get done, or some work stuff. I'm like, these kind of all need to be done. And I write it down, like kind of mind dump, right? I'm just getting it out of my head. I'm putting it on paper. And then I can look at my week and I can place down the things that have to be done. I'm always going to teach a class Monday night. I'm always going to teach a class Saturday morning. So I put those on. If I have any meetings, like a board meeting or a Golden Gal Network meeting, I'm going to put those down. Then any extras, right? Like if I want to meet with someone, or if I have a coffee with a friend, I'm going to put those down. Then once I have those bones in the list, then I'm going to take all the things that I need to get done this week, and I'm going to put them in the pockets of time that are going to be blocked off just for them. This way, I know when I'm having fun, and then when I also have to work and get those things completed and done. I find that this is the best way to stay on track, and it's also on paper. I do best with a list, and kind of the list is my boss. So if I write it down, I have to get it completed. If I say that I am going to edit something before 2:00, it's getting edited before 2:00. If I say I, need to vacuum, need to sweep, I'm going to vacuum, I'm going to sweep. Clean the bathrooms, like any of the things. Anything and everything can go on this list. That is one component. The next component is for your goals, like your 3 month, 6 months, 9 month, a year goals. I journaled my goals back in January. So for each category, work, for my health and wellness, for my relationships, for my financial, I've written them down. I have journaled, and I have detailed each one of these things out. Like, I will be happy XYZ this. This is what I do daily. This is how I'm, starting my day, how I'm ending my day. This is what I'm doing for lunch. I detail it all out. And I've done this like each New Year kind of week. And now is the time where I review those goals. So I look back and I think, okay, my goal was to not eat takeout more than twice a month. I look at my receipts. I look at, the past couple months. What did I do? Did I order Chinese? Did we eat out? And I can look at that and think, okay, Did I complete it? Yes or no? Did I complete it? Yes. Okay. So how can we dial this down more? Or is this a goal that we need to focus on further? Can we, take it off the goal list? Have we achieved this? Is it now a habit? Because the best way is to turn goals into habits where you don't have to think about them. They are just immediate, like your brain does not even think, it gets it done, it executes. And so I want to turn all of my goals into habits where now it's not like a goal or an aspirational thing, but now this is just part of my identity. This is who I am. This is what I do. So if I did achieve that goal, it's now a habit. I can take it off my list and then reevaluate. If it slips up, if I'm like, oh gosh, like we got really busy, we weren't meal planning, we weren't pulling out, something to thaw out before supper, now we can reevaluate and we can change it. So I try to do this monthly on like checking in with my goals to see if I'm on track and how to like recalibrate for the rest of the month or the next month or the next quarter. But a lot of people don't do that with their goals. They forget about them after New Year's, and that's fine. Okay, if that was you. Maybe your new goal for the last half of the year is to review your goals monthly and see where you're at. Even just like refreshing your mind on the aspirations or what you had for yourself for the year can be really impactful. And then I also use my day planner to back those goals up. So one of my goals last January was to post TikToks and to post my YouTube of the podcast. So taking that goal, I like check in with myself every month. How am I doing? Last month, I wasn't doing too well on the shorts or the clips of my podcast. So I'm like, how can I incorporate this into my daily schedule to make sure that I get it completed? So this month, I check in and I think, you know what? I did really good this past month. It's still not a like complete habit. I'm getting to it, but I have to remind myself. So I'm going to keep that as a goal and I'm going to incorporate that into my daily schedule. So each week I'm looking, okay, I post a podcast on Monday for my to-do list. I'm going to post 2 of my shorts or my reels or my TikToks. I'm going to post 2 of them on Monday. Then I'm going to post the others on Tuesday. And then I post a episode on Friday. So Friday, I'm going to make sure my Saturday to-do list also like will post those shorts or those little clips from the podcast. Checking in with the goals and being able to assess how you did in the past and how you're going to do in the future is really, really impactful. So that's just like one of my goals that I've been working on. And if you wanted to support the show, go follow us on TikTok at Golden Hour Drip, and on Instagram and YouTube, all of the things. I would appreciate it. And it would help inspire me to keep on my goals. Okay. to keep making that impact. So, but yeah, with July, I've sat down, I've looked at my goals, and my new goal is every Sunday, I'm going to assess how I did the week previously and then plan out my week for the upcoming 7 days. So I'm going to look at it. I'm going to say, okay, this last week fell off as a priority. This week we're prioritizing this thing. And then just being able to continuously look at it, because if you write it down, if you tell someone, and if you continuously remind your mind about it, you're going to be able to achieve your goals way higher than if you think about a goal back in January and never revisit it. You are not going to have that high of a percentage of actually achieving it come December, when it's December 31st and you're thinking, oh, what should my goals be for January? And assessing that and thinking, I didn't do anything this past 2024, right? And each year and each day is not given. So if we're able to just be so grateful for it, but also like prioritize it and appreciate it and be grateful for it, then we're not going to be able to like be we won't look back and think, oh, I wish I spent my time better. But instead, like, I did so much. And then, of course, like, I love looking back at old journals or old goals, and thinking, oh, like, we did a really good job, or that's where my headspace was, and now it's a habit, or, oh, I thought that was going to work out, but I definitely am not going to be a DJ, or, any of our old goals that we used to have. So I encourage you to write down your goals, write down your aspirations. How do you want the next 6 months to look? Where do you want to be in your life? What will make you happy? What will make you think, oh, the last 6 months, I'm so happy I did that, because I'm feeling like I've set myself up for success. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, all the things. It can be one of your goals to listen every single week, and to repost one of the TikToks. That would be great. But yeah, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.